Oh, welcome back to this show that I do all the time. It's learning to animate time. I'm working with Toon Harmony Essentials as usual. This particular tutorial is not confined to that program, so if you use any other program, it's all good. So the first time I did some frame-by-frame animation, the second time I did some tweening with pegs and whatnot. This time I'm gonna mix them together. So I'm gonna be showing, oh by the way, what you're watching right now is just a time lapse of me drawing the basics for what will be in this tutorial. So basically what I'm doing is a technique that I use in a lot of my animations. I used it in the Game Grumps Animated that came out a little while ago a lot. And basically it's a mix of frame by frame and tweening animation, which takes much less time to create, but still looks fairly fluid. Like it's obviously it's no substitute for real frame by frame animation. And whenever there's an important movement, I still use full frame by frame animation. But this is just a nice in-between that takes much less time to do. So here we are. I've drawn these two frames. If you don't know, this is the kid from Stranger Things. What's his name? Dustin. And he's getting all happy for whatever reason. But this is all we have right now, just two frames, and that looks like a bunch of trash. So let's hide that fact that it looks like a bunch of trash, put a wig on it or something, and it'll be great. So basically what I'm going to do here is just simulate simulate the movement through tweening with pegs and whatnot, like I showed in the last video. So I'm going to start by creating a peg, which is this button right here, and I don't want it to be called arm, I want it to just be called Dustin, because it's going to have everything in it, and I'm going to move both of these layers into it. So now I have this peg which controls everything at once. And I'm just going to smooth out this movement a little bit here. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is right about here, I'm going to put in a keyframe. So that's where the motion is going to start. And then the first thing that's going to happen is he's going to move down a little bit as an anticipation. That's one of the most important things to remember when animating people moving, is it's not just from A to B. It's usually they have some sort of anticipation, some sort of wind up, and then they move really quickly and then slow down at the end, and usually there's a little bit of a recoil. So this is going to be the anticipation. I'm also just going to move the fulcrum a little bit, and so I'm just going to squash him down a little bit and slide him backwards just a tiny bit. So he goes like that, and then up to this point he's going to move backward. In fact, I think I might move this a couple frames forward because I want this movement to be fairly fast. I might move it even farther after this, once I see what it looks like. And I'm just going to turn on the onion skin for the main layer so that I can see where he ends up next frame. And I basically want to just skew this frame around until it looks almost looks like it's going to fit. Of course, the problem I had there was I forgot to put in another keyframe afterwards. So anything that I did to this frame was also going to be true of the next frame. So when I put in another keyframe on the next frame, I can do that and it remains the same. I think I'm going to rotate it a bit and skew it a little bit more, and I think that's good. So now he looks like that. Alright, well, no, okay, so I'm going to put another keyframe right here. That's going to be when he returns back to this original position, but I'm actually going to put another one in between right here where he goes a little bit farther than he meant to, and then he comes back. There we go, that's looking okay. Actually, it's a little slow, so I think I'm going to move these up a little bit more, like I said. It's looking okay, but I think I can make it better. So, really quickly, I'm just going to go into this frame right here, and I'm actually going to pull it up a little bit, because when you move like that, or when an arm moves or whatever, there's always an arc. It's not just a straight movement. So I'm going to move this up a little bit so that we get a little bit more of that arc. And then I'm going to move this one up a little bit too to match that. And this one a little bit as well, but not nearly as much. So I'm having that arc sort of continue through this movement, and then he settles back down into the position. So that's looking a little bit better. But again, I think it can be better. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to pick this keyframe. This is the one right when he starts the fast movement, and I'm going to right click on it and click Set Ease for multiple parameters. This same thing exists in Flash as well. It's just a little bit different. So here we go. And basically what this does is it lets you make a movement accelerate or decelerate as it goes. So these little lines here show the motion. So if and this point right here is the keyframe. So with this line here, I don't actually need to do anything with that one, because that's just the wind up. But with this one, what I want to do is make it speed up as he goes. So he starts from a standstill and then speeds up towards the end. And this is, I can never figure out, I can never remember which way is which on this graph. It always confuses me, so I just try one way or the other. I just bend it and then see what happens. So I think that's not what I wanted. Yeah, he's slowing down there. So I'll just go in again, do the opposite. There we go, that looks better. Alright, so that's starting to look okay. Yeah, so that's the basics. You might recognize that sort of movement from one of my recent videos that the Game Grumps animated. I used a lot of this. But it's like you can sort of see what's going on here. You can see pretty easily that this is only 2 drawings, and it looks kind of, I don't know, it looks kind of cheap. So I want to make it look better. One way to do that is to actually add in little bits of more frame-by-frame animation to sort of sell the illusion a little bit better. I'm going to turn this off now. And so I think I'm going to start by making this arm movement look a little bit better. I'm going to do a little bit of a motion blur type thing, which is why it's on its own layer. So I'm going to go in right here and delete 2 frames, and I'm going to draw a new drawing right in the middle here. So I'm just taking the black color, I'm going to put on the onion skin, and I'm just going to really quickly draw a sort of blurred version of this arm. So this is the hand here, and I'm just gonna stretch it out like this. Just really sloppy. This is the arm. And there we go, I like that. I'm just going to connect it up here. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm just going to do some quick shading. There we are. So now when I turn off the onion skin and everything and then scrub through this, oh, and then I need to extend okay. So there we go. So now when we see this drawing, when we see this movement, we have an extra drawing in there, which makes that arm movement look a little bit more believable. There we go. And I'm going to do a similar thing with the hair and the eyes, and then I think we'll be done. So one thing I'm going to do with the eyes, again, which is why I have them on their own layer, is I'm just going to make him blink as he does this movement. And it's amazing how much more real something can look just with a blink. So right in the middle of the movement, I'm going to delete this frame, and the previous one actually. I'm going to put on the onion skin. For this, since it's moving, I'm actually going to go into the drawing tab. This is something I haven't really touched on yet, but the drawing tab removes everything else, and it removes all peg movement so that you can deal with stuff like this a little bit easier. I need to go back into the right color, and I'm just going to draw these closed eyes really quickly here. So now when we go back into the camera tab, it looks like that. Now, right in between here, I'm just going to do one more frame where his eyes are halfway closed. These ones always look a little weird when I draw them for some reason, but it doesn't matter because it's only there for what, like an eighth of a second or something. Alright. I'm just doing this really quickly. I don't really care if it looks super weird, and I'm almost positive it will, because now he looks drunk, which he really shouldn't be since he's like 12 or whatever. Oh my god. Wow, okay. That looks very strange, but it's fine. So now I'm realizing I actually did that to this original drawing here. This is a mistake I make often. Toon Boom, if I'm honest, makes it pretty easy to make this mistake, but it's a sacrifice we have to take for all the other features. So what I'm going to do to fix this is I'm just going to do Command X, cut that, undo everything until it goes back to the original, and then I'm just going to duplicate this drawing. My shortcut for that is Option Shift D. Don't think that's the original, but it might be. Might as well try it. So you can see what happened there is it duplicates that drawing. So these are two different drawings now, even though they look exactly the same. And I'm just going to paste in that one. So there we are. We're all good. And now he blinks. Hey! You know what? I think that anticipation can actually be a little stronger. There we go. I think that's starting to look pretty good. And the one last thing we're going to do is animate this hair frame by frame just a little bit, because hair moves in a different way than the rest of your body. It sort of trails behind in everything you do and sort of bounces around, especially if you have long hair like this guy does. So I'm going to wish that I put his hair on its own layer, because this is going to be kind of a pain to do, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go into this frame right where he starts moving, and again I'm going to go in here, I'm going to duplicate this frame so that this is a different drawing, and then I'm going to go in, remove all these colors so that I can mess around with the line art. Okay, and I'm just going to take, you know what, I'm going to cheat this a little bit. Normally I would redraw all these lines, but I think what I'm actually going to do is just skew it a little bit forward. Hold on while I try to select all this. Ooh boy, I did not make this easy for myself. I could have planned this out a little bit better. But I think that's everything. So now if I sort of skew it this way, yeah, that'll be good. So I'm just going to take all these. You can see I have all the outlines of his hair as well as all of the outlines of the shadows on and from his hair. And I'm going to put the center like right in the middle of his head. And then I'm just going to drag this all this way a little bit, because the hair has to trail behind the rest of his head a little bit. And then I'm just going to go in and fill in all the gaps that I just created. In fact, I may have only created 2 gaps. This might actually work out pretty well. And then I'm just going to go in and redo all these colors. Oops. Oh, there we go. There's one. Alright, oh, oops. Hold on. This button over here is the draw underneath button, so that I can go in here and draw underneath those black lines, and then when I fill it in, it looks all good. I'm hitting K so I can see these strokes. There we go. Just continuing to fill in. And there we are. So now what we have is his hair starts to trail behind a little bit more. And then the final thing is just the opposite of that. Right when he stops moving, we're going to have his hair again move too far backward, separate from the rest of his body. So I'm just going to go in here, select all this. This is real tough. Again, I made this as hard as possible for myself. Normally what I would do here is I would not color everything in until after I had done all of this, obviously. But, you know, this time I, for whatever reason, decided to just go for it, because I was feeling like being extra dumb today. But this should work okay. Alright, so now I'm just going to skew this way, and then we're going to delete everything that goes over. So now once everything settles, he's just going to go back, oops, not that one, to this frame where his hair is in its normal position. and now his hair sort of swings backward a little bit there. And then for one final touch, I'm just going to put in one more little thing here. I just duplicated this frame one more time and then copied that one over to there. That's what just happened there. So these two frames right here are now a new drawing. And then all I'm going to do for this one is grab this piece right here, move it forward just, oh my god, move it forward just a little bit, and the same thing on the other side. And what this is basically doing is I'm having his hair swing back too far and then bounce forward just a little bit too far into the middle, which is what happens. Wow, I really royally messed this up though. So actually I'm just going to get rid of these colors entirely and fill them back in. And that'll get rid of all these like tiny microscopic holes in between colors by just recoloring everything. Alright, there we go. Now, of course, normally if I was actually making this into a full animation, I would put a lot more work into fixing things like this because that looks like trash. And as I said, I would do this completely differently. Like I wouldn't have colored everything in yet. But you know, there we go. So now his hair sort of swings a little bit. And he blinks, and his hand blurs as it goes up. Now, one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the sort of overcompensation that I did for the whole body with the hand as well. So I need to give the hand or arm its own peg, and then right after it pops up here, I'm just going to put a keyframe there, a keyframe there. I'm going to put its center right there, and I'm just going to skew it and rotate it upward a little bit, and it's going to settle. Well, it's actually going to move down just a little bit too far, and then it's going to settle back to right there. That's actually just going to be one frame later. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So, obviously, this looks kind of weird because I just did it really quickly for the sake of the tutorial, but that's the basic idea. I basically do 2, maybe 3 frames for a movement, and then smooth it out with pegs, and then put in some little smaller adjustments to sell the motion a little bit. Whoa! And that is a perfect place to end the video because, oh my god, I'm using this terrible imitation of a GorillaPod and this crazy low quality wide angle lens because I moved into a new apartment and my desk is facing a different way, so I have to put the camera actually on the desk instead of behind it somehow. It's all just a mess. My microphone makes crazy noises here as well, which I need to figure out, which is why I'm using the onboard microphone. It's you don't want to know everything. It's bad. It's a bad time. Thanks so much for watching this series that I'm always making new videos of. They're always coming out. It's like you can count on me. If you're watching this crazy far in the future, after I've become an internet superstar known across the land for my incredibly consistent upload schedule, this won't make sense to you, but it's been a long time since I put up one of these videos, and there's gonna be more after a little bit of a break again. Because I'm starting to work on an entry for Draw with Jazza's yearly animation challenge, which is going to take up a lot of my time. But right after that, I'm coming back. I know I just said I was going to make a lot more videos in like the most recent video, but I swear right after that, expect another Game Grumps animated fairly soon. I already have a clip in my sights that I want to animate. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe for more. Like the video if you liked the video. Leave a comment. Blah blah blah, that sort of thing. If you want to suggest another video or ask any questions. This is just a mess, you guys. It's all falling apart. Bye.